Flying Butter Zone, Act 1. Everybody loved this zone, right? Yeah, not really. Me either. But yeah, this is a zone. I'm just gonna call it Flying Butter because it rides so smoothly. So once again, like the other like the other returning zones, there are certain things that still are the same, and then there's the occasional difference, stuff like that. Now, I don't mind the fact that there's a mix of the same and different, because it's been a very long time since a game like this was actually made, obviously, so it's not the biggest deal, but I definitely feel like they could have avoided this, because I'm just gonna say straight up that if you really wanted to play the original level design, you could just play the original games. New to this game, you actually get attracted to these things when you have a lightning shield. It wasn't like this before. You might notice this part's the same for the most part, but whatever's up here is a little bit different. And also not gonna happen because you probably need a Thunder Shield to properly deal with that. Why not? Let's go again. Let's go again. I think this was also one of the supers, but I could be wrong. I somehow think this was one of the supers. I've not played S3K like that in a very long time, so do forgive me if I've forgotten some things. I've also not perfected this because of that. Oh well. That's fine. This whole thing is mostly trial and error, especially some of the later stages are just pure trial and error. So if you don't get things the first time, that's perfectly okay. That's actually perfectly okay. I 100% promise you that I definitely did not get a whole lot of things first try. Just like everybody else. So, it's perfectly fine. Now, there's one thing I would have loved to see come back with checkpoints, but that would have made this game even more like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which may not have been such a good thing. One thing that should have been brought back is bonus stages. Or at least bring them back if you've completed all the Blue Sphere stages. That's one unfortunate thing I really wish they would have brought back, but they didn't. It's still a nice use of checkpoints, but once you've completed all the Blue Sphere stages like I have, it's pretty pointless. And if, for example, you're trying to do speedruns of this, that just gets in the way. More than a bonus stage would. And unlike a bonus stage, you get nothing for it, essentially. You don't get any points, or anything like that. You just get a thing you already have. That's it. You may also notice that some of the rings are in their similarly original locations, or you just are able to get them the same way as you would before. So, there are plenty of rings like that. Overall, there are, I believe, over 70 rings in this game. And I missed. Oh well. You'll want to time your jump there to get the ring box instead of falling like I did. So, that's the thing. Don't worry. It's fine. No big deal. So going back to what I said about this game's scoring system, I believe it's the next level. If you ever needed lives, there are at least 2 good ways of you getting a lot of score. So that eating lives is almost like an impossibility. Anyway, this boss is very similar to that little mini-boss thing in Act 2 of Flying Battery. But with a twist, you get this enemy that you can bounce off of and try to hit him sooner than you would normally. Because you don't really get a chance at hitting him until much later. And this thing eventually does close, so you do have a time limit. Wow. Oh well. You can also juggle the signposts and try to find boxes. That's also an S3K thing, but I kind of wish they didn't bring that back. Because it does make ring attacking very difficult, or more difficult than it needs to be. At times. But I won't waste time juggling the signpost because it's pretty useless otherwise. It's only worth 100 points. Yeah, you could sit there and grind 100 points all day if you really want to, but it's definitely not the best method of score attacking this game for sure. If you want another fun fact that's very similar to Sonic 3 Knuckles regarding this game, if you finish a stage in exactly 9:59, you know, the last second before timing over, you actually will get a time bonus of 100,000. That is also something that has only appeared in Sonic 3 Knuckles previously. And that's also something I wish they didn't bring back. But there's so much of an obsession with Sonic 3 Knuckles that everybody seems to really like. So everything must be Sonic 3 Knuckles. Buy the Manias for the Sonic 3 Knuckles fans. I'm dead. I have sacrificed Sonic for the Sonic 3 Knuckles fans out there. I didn't actually mean to do that, but so be it. That was just my excuse. And I've died in the same spot. Beautiful. Right, I saw that thing, I wanted to go back to that thing, and I just didn't. So, yeah. Anyway, this game also has a time attack mode. You can time attack as any character. However, the time attack mode doesn't have bosses, unfortunately. And I definitely do say unfortunately, because this game really would have been much better with a time attack mode with bosses. Although, considering some of the bosses in this game, maybe it would have been better off this way. But I can't say that for sure. I really can't, because yeah, if you want to time attack, you should be able to time attack the whole level, or at least have some kind of a boss rush type of thing. That would have been really great about Mania, or for Mania, having a boss rush. There's a boss rush mod out there. There are plenty of Sonic Mania mods out there, so if you feel like exploring, by all means. Although, the way Sega treated this PC version also kind of contributes to why Mania was brought down from the excellent game that it was otherwise going to be. Because Sega intentionally delayed this game by 2 weeks on the PC version only, just to add DRM, essentially. And a patch too, well, yeah, that was implied, but mainly for DRM, and it blindsided a lot of people that were pre-ordering this game. Even people that were buying it the same day, because the DRM wasn't listed on the store until a little bit after its release. On the same day, yes, but it took a couple hours. So that alone was kind of a bit of a douchebag move by Sega. You could legitimately tell that they tried to spoil this game as much as possible, just from that alone. And so, if you're gonna buy this game, unless you're really that interested in mods right now, I would say get a console version, if possible. I really don't have a choice in the matter because I don't have any new console, so this was also gifted to me. So there's also that. Anyway, this is a boss. This is a spider. You just need to hit him in the spikes. That's all it is. When the spikes are on both sides, you need to spin dash into him in such a way that you get him to hit one of the spikes. That's the fastest way to deal with that. Otherwise, you'd be waiting for an opportunity to hit him. You also want to keep him on the ground as much as possible, ideally, to avoid his projectile attack. So, on your first try, that boss probably was a pain in the ass. But it's not going to be a pain in the ass after that, pretty much. Anyway, this is Press Garden. This is a zone that I'm not really sure what they were going for. In fact, this zone has two very different styles. This looks different from Act 2 in almost a complete form. And I've heard rumors saying that Press Garden was meant to be 2 zones as well. Not saying I believe them, but this is the zone that has the biggest contrast in the entire game compared to anything else. Anyway, you might notice that these things just keep outputting Splats the Rabbit. And as long as you don't move too much and keep spin dashing, you can keep comboing these enemies, which is actually not like how the classic games were. I really wouldn't be doing it here because I'm constantly losing my rings. There are other spots which are better. So, like normal classic Sonic rules, eventually you get to the 10,000s and you start building up lives. This game has had multiple patches, and yet they didn't really care to fix this problem. So, that's a thing. You might notice that even if I'm losing my rings, I'm still keeping the combo. That's also not normal. If you lost your rings or just got hit in some way, your combo would also have ended. If this was classic Sonic. Like 2 or 3. Or 1 even. In any other classic game, you typically need it to be in the air. And once you hit the ground, your combo would reset automatically. I'm gonna do this until I get to 20 lives. I know this is boring, so I'm not gonna keep you too long, I promise. I'll probably have to sit here and do like 7 minutes of this for a score attack at some point. Because, you know, score attacking and ring attacking are things, and I became somewhat obsessed with them after a while. And I jumped, so I guess it's the end of that anyway. Yeah, if you jump again, you lose your combo. For some reason, it happens when you jump again, instead of when you just fall. In terms of on-the-ground comboing, I would compare this to the strategy used in Sky Chase in Sonic 2. Because as long as you didn't jump off the plane, and you kept rolling into enemies, what happened was your combo kept decreasing until you got hit, or you jumped. And then your combo would reset. It's very useful if you're trying to speedrun Sonic 2 and you're terrible at Death Egg, because you can get a couple lives automatically that way. So out of all the new zones, in my opinion, I feel like this is the weakest one. I definitely feel like this is the weakest one out of all of them. The 2 you'll see later are a little bit stronger. I feel like Studiopolis is like the second strongest one out of the 4. My rings are gone. RIP. It's also worth mentioning that, you know, unlike Sonic Forces, Super Sonic is free, and not $2. If you fall for that trap and pay $2 for Supersonic and Sonic Forces, then I'm sorry, you have no hope. Because that's just Sega wanting more money from you for no reason whatsoever. I also question the general pricing of the games, Mania and Forces. This game was advertised at 20, it probably could have sold for more. Forces was advertised at 40, it probably deserved to be 20. Or 30. It's pretty ironic, but sometimes Sega does weird things. That's just how it is, I guess, these days. Like, I assure you, if Mania was sold for 30, it probably still would have been eaten up by so many people. Instead, it was sold for 20, and the pre-order bonus was 10% off. Now you realize why the pre-order bonus was 10% off, right? For the PC version, at least. The funny thing was, as an apology, Sega also gave Sonic 1 away for delaying the PC version, but that didn't help anything, because they did that in such a way as to try to prevent people from refunding easily, which was also kind of a pretty scumbag move on their part. Not gonna say Sega doesn't try or anything like that, but when it comes to business, you want to make sure you're being treated decently as a consumer. You don't want to fall for scumbag moves like what Sega tried to pull with Mania. At the very least, they were completely honest about how Forces was gonna go. So there's promise in that, but it's more like they had to do it more than, you know, they were willing to do it themselves. So I don't take that with much more than a grain of salt. Anyway, one terrible thing about this level, I'll probably demonstrate this with the checkpoint, is that this level has respawning rings. I hope to demonstrate this with a checkpoint a little bit later. And what I mean by respawning rings is that in the boxes, sometimes rings are in the boxes, like you've seen already. These boxes will respawn, and therefore the rings will respawn. So that was something I wish they didn't do, but they did. So this level is very weird to ring attack because of it. Because you actually have to intentionally utilize checkpoints to get more rings. Alright, here we go. Here's an example right now. I'm going to avoid this checkpoint. Take notice of the fact that I'm going to collect all these rings. And lose them anyway. And go around and probably never come back. We're going back, right? We are going back. Or we're not. We got closed off. Rip. Alright, we'll do it another checkpoint then. No big deal. These enemies are scary. Sometimes you're able to hit them and sometimes you feel like you get hit for no reason. Even if it's just you not paying attention to where you're going. Actually, I don't think I can get to show this off with another checkpoint. There's only one more. It's with a very fast part at the end. I'd like a ring, please. Thank you. That's alright. If this playthrough won't show it, I'll definitely make the next one do it, for sure. Actually, if I do this right, I can probably show it off. So I'm gonna take these two boxes out, right? I have to do this right. Oh, okay. So you might have remembered these enemies from Knuckles Chaotix. They didn't hold ice bombs then, but... Nah, we're not gonna show it off, I think. Rip. Alright, next time then. So those things didn't hold ice bombs in Knuckles Chaotix, they just held bombs, but it's a bit of a nice twist, actually. These things are like the ones you see in Metropolis. However, when they're on the ground, you can destroy them. You can also slide into them with your ice block when you're frozen. I'm also probably dead. I wouldn't be surprised if I was dead. Alright, I'm not dead. Alright, so, as if this thing couldn't get weirder, you'll notice Metal Sonic, you'll also notice Little Planet. This is about to be a small homage to Christian Whitehead's first project with Sega. Sonic CD 2011, as most people call it. However, these levels are completely different from their CD counterparts. In fact, for this alone, when it comes to Sonic CD, these levels are the most different from their original counterparts. Which is something I find very interesting. And I am 100% certain it has a lot to do with the fact that Sonic CD was widely released in terms of the remaster. And so, if the levels were the same, there probably would have been callouts regarding how the Sonic CD levels look somewhat similar. So these had to be completely redesigned, for the most part. The gimmicks of the levels still mostly exist for the most part. That is an additional gimmick that you just saw. That plant thing. Along with hitting capsules that aren't really capsules. But are the ones from Sonic CD, but they're not the real capsule, so... That takes a concept from Flying Battery and just kind of puts it in a Sonic CD perspective. Which I'll admit is a good twist, but... kind of makes it a little bit confusing. You know what, it's been a while, why not? Special stage. Bonus stage! I believe this is one of the new ones, so yeah. This is actually a new one. And this one you'll really want to be careful not to get all those small groups of blue spheres before you get the big ones, because of the amount of rings there are in this level. But silly me, I think I've already made that mistake terribly, and I think I've probably just screwed myself for the most part. This part is really hard to master, especially if you are going really fast, and then I just ran into a red sphere anyway. But if you're going really fast, quick turning becomes really hard. And there are moments like that where you just gotta get in the exact right spot to just nail rings and just be able to quick turn at the right time. So that's like probably the most difficult part about the Blue Sphere stages, or at least the new ones. Because it really does test you on that. I have to take one of these things. So for those that don't know Sonic CD, this is Stardust Speedway Past, quote unquote. I mean, they try to meme it up. You'll see at the end. I'll leave that to the end, actually. They try to meme it up a little bit, but it's not real. It's not real time travel. It's just part of the storyline, perhaps, but it's not real time travel. But considering how warped this game is because of the Phantom Ruby, I suppose anything's possible. So you know those little bugs at the end of Metallic Madness, yeah, they're back. With their Big Mama. Because apparently this is Big Mama's house. Big Mama Bug also has a big laser. You'll want to avoid that if possible. Alright. This is the meme. Wow, he destroyed the machine! And a convenient future sign! Wow! We're time traveling to the present. Because that was apparently the past, because this game makes no sense. Now, this is the level where you have to get under a minute for one of the achievements. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this level is actually pretty shit to do that. Because this level is designed basically just to screw with you. There's not any real design here, a lot of it is just meant to screw you. A lot of paths make no sense. A lot of things allow you to go backwards or around and 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 around. Because this is Stardust Speedway. But I'm not going to deny the fact that Stardust Speedway 2 or even 1 was way less confusing than this. So I don't know what things were happening when they tried making this zone, but there weren't a lot of good thoughts. There weren't a lot of good thoughts here. Anyway, to get the achievement, you need to have under a minute before the boss if you're trying to do it in this mode. Or if you're trying to do it in Time Attack, you just need to finish in 1 minute, because it doesn't have the boss. Now you notice the transition, right? It started at 129, a very high 129. You enter this part, and your time is cut off a little bit, by a little more than half a second. So this is Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic is a thing. This isn't like the race in Sonic CD though. If you fall behind, you don't die. You just have Metal Sonic attack you a lot. Like that. So this is already like the third, or at least the second redesign of a Metal Sonic fight. Or race, or both. Anyway, this is the first part of the boss, but he can still attack you before he actually gets in here. Depending on how he's positioned. And here's your next surprise. You remember these things? If you played Sonic 2 8-bit, sure you did. These are miniature versions of the final boss, of the normal final boss of Sonic 2 8-bit. And these things can be comboed as well. I don't know what that hitbox was, but that was amazing. You want to have these things come out and spin, so you can spin dash directly, and have them hit Metal Sonic. If you hit them too hard, this will most likely happen with Super Sonic. You'll have to figure out a different way to get them to hit right away. In fact, I'm pretty sure you have to let them spin dash a bit and then hit them. Because the ricochet is different, and therefore that will allow you to hit the boss if you're playing a Super Sonic. So you thought that was it, right? Nah, not quite. There's a bit more to this boss. But I'm going to admit this climbing part is actually extremely boring. Extremely boring. There's not a lot of speed pads. I wish there were more speed pads. I really do. And the climb just feels really like a real struggle more than anything. Anyway, this part is very unexciting as well, unfortunately. In fact, these spikes don't even actually do their job very much. All they really do is just knock you into Metal Sonic. And you can even get all your rings back if you have below a certain amount of rings, of course. Which is like really sad that this is how the boss is designed, but it is what it is. Wow, Metal Sonic, I just wanted to hit you. There you go. And so he just crashes into his own wall and he dies, and there's a ring here and I should pick it up. And this is a capsule. Oh yeah, one other feature about this game that I'm not going to show you, but you can fiddle around with it yourself. If you play as Sonic and Tails, Tails can actually help you in some certain situations, if you so desire. All you have to do is press a certain button and Tails actually can help you. You can actually get some flight help for once. Tails isn't just an AI in this game, so that's interesting. Although it makes certain things possible that maybe shouldn't have been possible otherwise. Like being able to fly high enough and skip bosses. Yes, because that's a thing. Or at least was a thing. I think it's been patched, but I'm not sure. Or at least some of them have been patched. You know, because every game needs to have at least one patch these days, and yada yada yada. The state of modern gaming is pretty bad. For those that, you know, wanted to get the PC version, you didn't even get the chance to explore some of the things the console people did. Because on console, you got the first release. On PC, you got a patch release. So, essentially, you were out of luck if PC was your only platform like me. That enemy was following me and it was actually kind of scary. So this is Hydrocity. I actually am surprised they brought back Hydrocity. I suppose the only reason they even could was because the music actually was remade as well. Because if they were trying to use the original music for Hydrocity, they probably couldn't have done this in the first place. Because one of Sega's main problems with S3K Remastered is some of the music. I've heard rumors, well, maybe not even just rumors, I've heard things about the fact that bringing back the music of Sonic 3 Knuckles, at least in some specific form, would be an issue. Did I also mention we really like boats? That's a description to one of the achievements, by the way. We really like boats. So I'm really surprised they brought this back. The only other water zone choice they had was Labyrinth. Unless they wanted to make a new water zone, which probably would have been... That probably would have been really good, actually, if they actually remade a water zone. Or not remade, newly made a water zone. Just imagine how evil it could have been. Compared to Labyrinth or Hydrocity. And yet, instead, they chose Hydrocity. Because I'm guessing they went for the 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern, so they couldn't bring back Labyrinth anyway. Because Sega's staple with Sonic games is apparently Green Hill Zone, or Seaside Hill. Both have been brought back a million times at this point. And it's actually getting a little bit irritating. I'm not going to deny that. It's actually getting pretty irritating. Anyway, Eggman decided to go for a swim today. Yeah, Eggman decided to go for a swim today, but I don't think that's even the weird part. Here's something you might actually recognize from Sonic 3 and Knuckles as well. Not just the machine itself, but the fact that what you're about to do with the machine should remind you of something in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Remember when you took over Eggman's thing in Launch Base for a little while? And the music stopped. Wow. I can't say I've seen that before. Or heard that before. The music just died. Wow. That's wonderful. Anyway, you want to hit Eggman. The bombs hurt you if you let them go high enough. You can also drop your own bombs. But the boss is over and the music just started again, and I hit the signpost weirdly, and okay, sure. This transition is actually really weird. If you get too far outside the screen, some people have soft-logged here before, because this transition is actually really weird for whatever reason. Out of all of them, this is definitely the weirdest one. But yeah, you remember when you took over Eggman's craft in Launch Base to get to your next area? That's what that's supposed to remind you of. And of course, that's also the Hydrocity boss machine. So you obviously know there's going to be something different coming up compared to that. So you might have noticed I haven't collected a Chaos Emerald in a little while, right? Because I'm not actively searching for special rings right now. Well, truth of the matter is I don't actually know where too many of these are. I've done several playthroughs already and I still don't know where more than like probably 20 of them are. And like I said before, there were like 70 of them. So I think it's even more than 70. 70 something. That wasn't a smart idea at all. Because this is not the area I was thinking of. No! I must be able to rise! Thank you. So yeah, Sonic Mania is basically a trip down memory lane for the most part. But it also does have some new aspects to it to attempt to keep things fresh. I'm not gonna say this is the best thing they could do, because it's really not. They could definitely do a lot better than this. But it's a good effort. If Sega tried to do the same thing, I think they probably would have done worse. If Sega Sonic Team did the same thing. So I guess there's at least that. But there are definitely aspects of the game that really say to me that this game could have been better. And for the most part, this game feels like a meme more than a game. It really does. Because all Sonic does now is meme. If you don't know what that really means, then just check out his Twitter account. Sonic's Twitter account is just memes. Not even great memes, just memes. Corporatized memes. Trust me, corporate memes aren't good. They really aren't. You want memes, don't just take it from corporate sources. Because they just try to, like, the whole reason corporations meme right now is because they're trying to connect to humans as if they're trying to be human. But the corporate entity, even though it is comprised of humans, is not actually a human entity. That's a very solid lesson I have for you today. Go ahead and think about it all you like. I almost died. That would have been funny. So obviously the special stages get harder. There's no doubt. You really gotta watch where you're going a lot of the time. Still have plenty of rings, so... You can also go through things in the stage as if they're not solid. I feel like that's a bit weird too. The fact that you can go through literal pillars as if they're not solid. That's the only one weird thing about the emeralds, or the emerald stages. Is that things you think are solid aren't actually solid. And so when you're trying to veer away from a solid object and then wind up falling into one of the pits, and then you realize later that the object was never solid to begin with, you have that dull moment. Oh! That was about to be something nasty, actually. So yeah, for the most part, Sonic Mania, if you're looking for a revised experience, this is your game. If you like S3K, this is your game also. If you liked S3K, this game is actually slightly shorter in terms of speedrun. Sonic 3 Knuckles, I think, is still a little longer. At least on average. I'm not talking, like, if I were to compare directly between the best of the game in both games, Sonic Mania is actually longer. But that's because Sonic 3 Knuckles has a lot of glitches compared to Mania. I'm not saying Mania is perfect either, because Mania does have a lot of quirks. But Sonic 3 Knuckles is still the more broken game, by far. So this is the boss. This is actually one of the most interesting bosses of the game. You're trying to knock bombs back into him. When you hit him, you get a bubble. If you can make it happen, this is especially good with Supersonic, actually. You could actually get right into his face and hit him. Unfortunately, if you lose your rings, you lose all your rings here, so that is a problem. I may also drown. In fact, I'm going to. I don't think I'm fast enough. Whoa! That was a miracle. A miracle has just been witnessed in Sonic Mania today. I got a bubble at the last possible second. So, you remember this boss, right? This is the Act 1 boss of Hydrocity. Except it actually has 8 hits instead of 6. And it's fatter, because Eggman need to get inside. That's the only reason why it's so fat. Not to worry though, you get 3 rings in transition to this boss from the other boss, so if you lost all your rings, this game isn't too much of a dick about it. This boss theme is actually the best one, I think, in Mania. Besides the final boss theme. The final boss theme is amazing. What? What was that? I wasn't supposed to hit him there, but that was okay. That was cool. I was literally not expecting a hit there. But okay. You'll also notice in this game, you're in an area where, you know, normally you'd be transitioning to Act 2. It's Sonic 3 Knuckles. But here you just get a fade out and suddenly you're on a plane. Unfortunately, not every transition was really planned out very well in this game, which is a little unfortunate. But it's the thing. So this is Sky Chase. for the most part. Why they decided to bring back Sky Chase, I'm not really sure. You had a very grand opportunity to make something out of the zone, and you chose to make a Sky Chase level. That is one of the gripes I have about this. Now, I'll say it now, this level isn't completely a Sky Chase level, but it is for the most part. Knuckles' level, however, is a little bit different and probably more interesting. We'll get to that later. There's really not a lot to say about this level, except that it actually has a shield. I believe Pocket Adventure Sky Chase also had a shield. So if you want to relate to that, you can. I'd say that's a fair reference. Because I believe Pocket Adventure Sky Chase was the only Sky Chase to have a shield before this one. Surprised I got that enemy hit instead of just getting hit myself there. Check this out, it's Riot Train, boys! Eggman the Conductor. I gotta admit, I really like Eggman on a train. I really like it. I wish there was like a boss where Eggman's on a train and you're just trying to like avoid the train or something like that. Just imagine how much fun Eggman would be having as a conductor. Being a conductor of a train like that. Like you saw his face and everything. He was enjoying it. He was really enjoying it. Anyway, this is actually probably the hardest special stage out of all of them. It's mainly because you're trying to get rings. You're trying to get a lot of spheres. You see, that didn't help me one bit. I got like 3 spears out of that net. I was supposed to get Mach 2 before I hit that, so I could instantly go to Mach 3. But anyway, if you're not taking the right path, the UFO will gain ground on you until the UFO pretty much disappears from view. If that happens, you have a lot of catch-up to do. Because the UFO tends to take short paths as well. So... here I actually make it easy, but my first time out, it took a very long time to get it. Because I was not taking the right paths, and the UFO does take short paths. So, you will continue to lose ground on the UFO that way. Anyway, that special stage ring is actually the easiest one, I think, in the entire game. That's the easiest one to find. So if you haven't found special stage rings up until this point, I'm pretty sure you'll be finding that one. By the way, if you spin dash off too fast, off the, on the plane, you do die, just like Sonic 2. That is a thing. So you want to be careful to hit this boss on its head and not do anything stupid, because you hit anything else in a bad way, you will wind up hitting the spikes instead. You won't fall off the plane by getting hit, but yeah, you'll want to be careful. So you're asking yourself, how is that signpost floating? Well, the answer's about to be revealed. Surprise! Meanwhile, an otherwise dead character has shown up in the game. Fang the Sniper, last seen in Triple Trouble. This zone is supposed to actually reference concepts that never came to be. If you've been in the Sonic world enough, you've probably heard of Dust Hill, you've probably heard of that one Sonic CD zone that was desert-like. Desert Dazzle, I believe they tried to call it. So this is supposed to be a similar reference to those zones in particular. If those zones came to be, it might have looked something like this. Although I really doubt Act 1 was going to be a Sky Chase, so yeah. That was probably something I felt like they had to do, apparently. Or unfortunately, rather. That was a nice bounce. Dude, nice, a life. I just did that without really knowing that that life was up there, but, you know, it's fine. Ow! I really didn't spin dash fast enough. Stop! Of course there's a shield after that, too. Because that's how Sonic games work. There are, like, multiple rings here. I need to try and find at least one. So those enemies from Spring Yard, they tried drop dashing as well. I guess we're not finding a special stage ring. Oh well. Moving on. It's time for the show to begin. Hey, it's that guy from before. It's also Fang the Sniper from before. How did he do that? Is he a magician? Let's pick up all those. If we can. And that's Bean the Dynamite from Sonic the Fighters. Wow. 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 I'm getting smoked right now. I'm getting smoked. And that's Bark, also from Fighters. This guy thinks he's Knuckles, but he's not the real Knuckles. Oh my goodness. I promise I'm making this harder than it actually is. I mean, I don't know why I am, but I am. So, you might have missed something on the train. There was a container on the train, and it had the initials OOZ. Guess where we're going next?